And many.
We were muted that entire time.
We were muted the whole show.
The entire show we were
Really?
muted.
How come it just told us then?
No, it didn't tell us. We got a text message from one of our viewers that notified it, but it doesn't. The bar down there, this was actually, and we couldn't see that bar.
Okay.
Technical difficulties galore. So we do apologize.
Yes.
We've had a very spirited discussion. I'm gonna have Mr. Staten, lawman, give you the rundown in his shortest version possible.
Okay, we were talking about Roe v. Wade and
Supreme Court overturned it.
That's right. And the reason they wanted to do that is because they said you don't have a constitutional right to do so, so let the states decide. It's the same thing that happened in slavery, as you would know, and the same thing that probably can happen with same-sex marriage and interracial marriage, as well as invoking the 14th Amendment now to show that slavery, if you were being duly convicted of a crime, can now be put into effect because it's in the Constitution now. So we went on and talked a little bit about the Second Amendment in the New York State case and stuff, where they were trying to get rid of the need to show a purpose in order to own a weapon. You know, you have to have one license, and then you got to show a purpose to conceal carry and carry around. And the Supreme Court seemed to give latitude to all of that at a time when gun laws are on the books, and we're almost forgetting about this because of Roe v. Wade coming out. You see, we're having issue after issue that's striking to the Constitution, and it's not coming out on the side of peace among citizens. So we beg you and implore you, please learn the requirements to vote and go vote, because you got to understand, you got to get rid of people on a state level as well as a national level.
I guess.
The mic. Wait. Remember the ones that we unplugged?
Technical issue, and we were muted. The short version is Roe v. Wade was overturned. We see Roe v. Wade as an attack on women's rights. We see Roe v. Wade as an attack on poor people, poor women, who won't have the access that women of means will have.
Correct. And it's a ploy to put now in the hands of the state these rights so that other states may disagree, and we have a country that becomes divided on something that was stare decisis. It was law for so many years. It was followed for so many years, and there's no good reason to change it because the most people in the country want to have abortion as a right. So it wouldn't be a sign of doing what the people want by the Supreme Court's movement.
No.
And that was only because Trump was able to get 3 people in there who lied in their confirmation hearing about following the law and then just denied that. Just moved it aside. So it can happen in other areas too. It can happen in same-sex marriage. It can happen in interracial marriage. It can happen in slavery.
It can happen with civil rights.
That's right. Because Jim Crow existed because of the Supreme Court. It was the Supreme Court that then said, let's just get rid of it. Separate but equal. Let's get rid of it. But they can institute it again if they decide that separate but equal is better. It's all about making America great again, isn't it?
Well, all I will say is that, again, as we talked about and our viewers missed, that we were given Trump during the Me Too movement.
Right.
A movement of women, by women, and somehow women still managed to vote for that man.
So, the key, bottom line is, you got to get out there and vote now.
Not only do you have to vote, you have to contact your representatives and let them know where you stand on issues,
Right.
where your community stands on issues. We can't continue to sit idly by and let people make decisions that affect our lives.
That's true. So, be aware of everything that's coming down, read everything, be knowledgeable as a citizen should.
Oh, so quickly on the issue with the gun law in New York.
Yeah.
In order for people to get concealed carry permits, individuals had to prove that they had a need for the weapon, and the Supreme Court said that there is no requirement that you prove a need for the weapon. It can be for general self-defense as long as you are not a prohibited person, or have a domestic violence history, or there was one third thing.
Mental illness. I
Yes,
think.
or something
Yeah.
that makes you, where they are
Right.
suspect of your reasons for wanting the firearm.
And just to reiterate, what I mean by slavery coming back is that the 13th Amendment authorizes it for people duly convicted of a crime. Doesn't say when the crime was committed, how the crime was committed, whether you've got it overturned, or anything.
So you're saying they could just say, hey, these people are classified as criminals because they, at some
Duly
point in their
convicted-
lives,
duly convicted of a
suffered a
crime.
conviction,
Exactly.
and therefore we can
Now,
punish them
to get
by-
free labor. And Jim
Let's
Crow
hope that
can
does not
come back
happen.
because Brown versus Board just said that separate but equal is not equal. However, they may say that in the oncoming economy,
Oh.
everything is equal because
Oh.
that's why critical race has to be proved because it's also equal. So if it is, then why wouldn't separate but equal be good?
Summeran Technical says Brown versus Board is a super precedent. Is it any
Oh,
more
whoa.
super than Roe v. Wade?
Nope. 5 years difference. I mean, or 15 years difference or so.
Yeah.
Nope, that's it.
So no, we are seeing the court overturn precedent.
Precedent. Exactly.
We're seeing a court that I believe is politicized.
Pulling us into a moral area where we probably shouldn't be. That's the thing. If this to be the moral, I guess, guidance, if the Supreme Court is to guide us morally, then all it's doing is splitting us morally. All right.
Well, again,
And
we
thank
are.
God there's places like California and Washington and Oregon who will keep the right over
for
your bodily
women to
function for
control
women. Yes.
their a medical procedure
God for
that
them.
should be between them and
Right.
their doctor. And I pray for the women who don't have those resources, because again, there are states where there is no
Right.
exception for rape, no
Right.
exception for incest.
So, there's going to be a groundswell of people GoFunding me and things like that. And even the clinics who can't operate anymore, probably raising money
But-
in order to have them take trips to states that
But
can.
what we also have to remember is they may make laws that even if you travel to another state and have the procedure done
It's
and then
illegal.
return home, that you will be criminally prosecuted.
Right, and those who help them may be. But that's where civil disobedience has to come into effect, and you have to risk that type of thing. Fill the jails. Dare them to prosecute. Because then that brings it into a different level of prosecutors actually prosecuting these things as crimes. And defense lawyers who are very smart, like me and Carmen B., will think of some ways and stuff to get that overturned in the criminal court. So, so sorry for all the technical difficulties that we seem to have, but no promises, but we're going to do much better next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Go out and vote.